Hello friends, my name is Type 1, and today I would like to welcome you back to our World Building Wednesday series. With this series, we are working on a long-term writing project that I've had in development for many years, but have decided to turn into a YouTube series in efforts to become more comfortable sharing my work, and maybe build something of an audience for my work. Now, as of the last video, we started on the biggest scale to view the story from, the world from, and then we zoomed in a bit to look at some of the relatively smaller parts. We went from planetary down to continental size. Now, looking back on that video, I did see that the font was readable, but it was still very small, so I have gone ahead and zoomed this in to about 25 compared to I believe it was 16 of the last video's scale. So hopefully this will look a little better. I've zoomed in the video so it looks a little better. So here's just like a little refresher for anybody who wants to pause and take a quick look if you weren't able to read it super well the first time around. Now, last time we left off, we were working on the continents, and this is not all the continents in my story. This is just the stuff that's on the main, like the main body, the supercontinent the majority of the story takes place on. But however, there is more than just this. So I suppose I should keep my little asterisk note here. We have a couple of things to add on to this. I'm just looking for it real quick so I can remember all my names and everything I might need. I believe I remember everything for these particular bits, so we'll go ahead and start here. The first one is the island of Painstakingly. Let me get this. I want this bolded. That's the only thing I've changed since last time, is I bolded the names of each thing so they're a little easier to see. Alright, so Painstakingly as an island, it is made up of a very, very large serpentine skeleton. We'll get into the type of creature it is later when we start working on the creatures part of this. But essentially, all y'all need to worry about right now is a big snake with arms. It died a bajillion years ago, and its rotting matter made up basically the compost that turned into this island. So go ahead and put this down. Island formed from the corpse of a massive, let me pull up. This will be y'all's first taste of creature here. Let's see. Oh. Forgive me, my creature document is one of the longest I've ever written. It takes me a second to get through all this stuff. Find exactly what I'm thinking of. There it is. Okay. Yeah, I don't know how big this is. How do I check that? Let's see. Let's see if we can give y'all an idea. It's 15 pages of like pure creature design. And I know for a fact this isn't even all of my creatures as well, because I have some that I haven't gotten around to putting in here yet. Do not know. Not that it matters. We have the name we need. The corpse of a massive ophidian. That is the name of the species of animal it was, the armed snake, as it were. And again, we'll go into those more at a later date. Okay, so this island is a decent size, given that it's made up of a giant creature, of course. And it exists to the southwestish of the mainland of Penrose. That's the name of the supercontinent that everything's part of. So, let's see. Southwest Penrose. Palinki is a... What's a word here? Because I don't... There are people living here. I don't want to call them primitive per se, because they're not like cavemen. They're more... What, maybe medieval would be a good way to put it, that kind of time period. Because it'd be roughly, like, their technology level would be sometime, like, around that, you know, like, good old sword and board, and, you know, they may have figured out how to forge stuff, maybe Copper Age kind of thing. So we'll say it's a medieval society. Ooh. Okay, hold on. I'm going to restructure this real quick. So it's a large island home to two opposing races. Both of which are not relatively, don't are roughly medieval. Medieval is such a weird word. Medieval. Okay, I just have my I and E backwards. Such a weird word to spell. Okay, so not a ton to say about this island just yet, because the main focus of the island is the races themselves. Yeah, but I mean, this is like, you get as much info here as you do the rest of these places before we dive even deeper into it, so we'll get there when we get there, but that's roughly what the idea is. It's a giant snake skeleton that's rotted away and given birth to this lush island nation that has two warring races on it. And I've hit, like, kind of like a iron-ish age, copper iron age. Like, they're not out here with, like, you know, with, like, black powder guns yet, but they ain't sitting around with, you know, wooden spears and being scared of fire, you know. Okay, and then the last major area of the world, like, of this world in particular, that would be the South Pole. I need to come up with a better name for the South Pole, because I was calling it the Savage Lands, but that is, like, straight up a Marvel thing, and I don't want to get slapped by Marvel copyright. I fear the hand of Disney. So for now, it'll just be, you know, just be the South Pole. Let's see, do I have anything in any of my notes here about this place? I mean, like, not really. Wait, hold on. I might. Hold on. Let me lock in for a second. I might have something here. Yeah, unfortunately, it seems like Savage Lands is the only thing that I really have for it, which isn't an incorrect definition of what it is. However, I just don't know if I'm allowed to use that. Oh, here we go. Just off the dome, dude. Let me do some quick on the fly research. That doesn't really work, unfortunately. Okay, so I was going to go with prehistoric peninsula, but that doesn't really work because it's not a peninsula. It is a completely surrounded by water continent at the bottom of the world. So we could call it like prehistoric point. I don't know. This is something I'll think on. If y'all have any suggestions, I'm more than happy to hear y'all out. But for now, we'll just call it the South Pole. So we'll get that bold. And I'll do some parentheses here. The South Pole. Name pending. Here, you know, we'll even add that on there. Name pending. Okay. It is the southernmost point on the planet. And the magnetic south of the world. Like this is to this world as like, what is it, is it the Antarctic? Yeah. This is to Penrose as Antarctica is to Earth. This is the bottom of the world. Like, objectively, scientifically, this is as far south as you can go before you start heading north again, you know, kind of deal. So, the South Pole is a deadly radioactive environment. Yes, you throw a twist on there. You know, you're used to the poles being these frigid, awful places. Not this place. This place has a nuclear volcano. So I busted out my fantasy chops for this one. This one's always been a favorite of mine. Oops. See, the only known, say, natural source of gamma radiation. Again, fantasy type stuff. I don't know if that'd really be feasible per se, but you know, for the most part, that's just how we're rocking with this. So like the only natural source there is other types of radiation, in which we'll get into more when we get into like the power systems and origins of some of the races and stuff in the world. But for this in particular, this place is like a living nuclear bomb. It's just here, and it's constantly here. The creatures here have adapted to it. They are strange and mutated and far different to anything else seen in the world. And they have very different weaknesses compared to other creatures, like strengths and weaknesses compared to other creatures that are found throughout the world because of the environment they've come up in. Like, this is like on par with the Deep Dark with how unusual, how unorthodox evolution has become in this world. Constant gamma storm emitted from a nuclear volcano at the center of the land mass. Life here has found a way to overcome and adapt to the otherwise toxic environment, leading to one of the most unorthodox branches, I can't spell today, oh my goodness, branches of evolution in the world. So we will come up with a more interesting name for this, or I will steal someone's comment idea and they will be like, whoa, this really famous YouTuber used my idea, that's so cool, right? Yeah, me and my 27 subscribers. Oh, don't told me to flex or nothing, but you know. Now, of course, I would credit whoever, but for the time being, it's the South Pole. That's what it's called. It's not a great name. It's kind of, you know, it's no Antarctica, that's for sure. So that's a good name. So this is from 50% view. This is pretty much all we need to see from a 50% view. Well, I'm trying to think. So there is one other area, but I don't know if I want to put it here or if I want to put it in the next section. I think given that this area I'm thinking of has multiple individual sections, it should go here in this grand scale. I just need a better name for it. Let me take a quick peek see. So maybe I've got just like an old name I'm not using anymore. Oh, yeah, we did have a name for it, a new name for it. Oh, dude. Okay, well, good news, everybody. I do actually have a name for the South Pole. I just completely forgot because I am the world's smallest peanut-brained individual. We renamed it the Black Isle. Because, well, I mean, we'll get into that later. I'm so glad I found this. Okay. Okay, and then I think we're going to pop up here, because this is roughly where this should go. So, the last major area is called Fractalia. It is a vast underground ecosystem existing even deeper than the deep dark itself. This place is purely underground, deep into the crust of the planet. It has an entirely unique ecosystem upon itself. Like, top 3 weird places in Penrose evolution-wise, you got Deep Dark, which is like, airborne or like air-fueled deep sea. You've got the Black Isle, which is just radioactive monsters. It's like, Godzilla's home, pretty much. And then you got Fractalia, which is just pretty much cut off from everything else, more or less. Like, the stuff down here just kind of did whatever. Only accessible through a vast series of tunnels beneath the deep dark. Entirely cut off from the surface. Life in this region is deeply unique and is deeply unique. Yeah, I think that's a good end of the sentence there. Very little is known of this region, partly due to its relatively recent discovery, and partly due to the level of harsh conditions involved to even get there. Because, like, you gotta remember, the Deep Dark, at its lowest point, is 11 kilometers down. So you're going miles down into the earth, into this super hostile environment full of walking deep-sea creature monsters. And then if you want to get to this place, into Fractalia, you gotta find the caverns, like the caves that are down there, that open up to down there. And you gotta find your way through all these caves while it's getting hotter and hotter. And it's just a nasty, deeply dangerous expedition to even get as far as Fractalia. Like, not an easy feat. Not a nice place to go. Not a nice place to be. And you can do it, but it's like next to impossible kind of odds to even get there kind of idea. See, I remember, like, us in real life, like, us human beings, we don't be going underground that deep very often, you know? Like, I don't think we've ever gone 11 kilometers into the earth. I could be entirely wrong about that. Like, don't get me wrong. I don't know a lot about mining, unfortunately. But, like, going that deep and then even deeper, like, nah, dude. Like, that's some insanity. But there we go. That's our 50% view. Our times 50 view, you know. We've zoomed in that far, so now we're going to go even further in. Oh, I have my caps lock on. Is this capitalized? No. Okay, so Penrose from 25x view. So here's where things get even more detailed. So, let's see. I'll probably go through about half of this today. So, let's see. Because we're at like 25% view. So 25% view is going to be like the unique biomes and stuff of each area. And then like 10% view, we're going to look at like the cities that are around. So starting with Lucinia, that's not too difficult. So we'll just go with tab over, Control B, Lucinia. Oops. Where's my undo button? Like, for real. Get that out of here. Okay, well, I don't know what that's doing, but I don't like it. Damn it. Okay. Can't outsmart it. Okay, so Lucinia. It has a lot of stuff going on for it. I think I am going to keep some of the original names. Just because they were fun and... I'm not going to say they were great, but they were fun. So, we're going to have the Limnus Rainforest. And please remember, like, Lucinia is largely plant populated. It is lush and vibrant all throughout. So you have the Limnus Rainforest. You have the Paperbark Forest. Thinking, what else do we have? What else do we have? Let's see. Okay, we got the, we'll call this the fungal estuary. What's another word for forest, dude? Because I don't like using forest over and over. Names for forest. Woods. Plantation is a synonym, really. Alright, so we'll do the sinking woodlands. I think that's about all the major places. Because for Lucinia, like a solid like 30 to 40% is just the rainforest before it starts like elevating up towards the plateau, or to where you start getting like stuff like this and this that are kind of less bad to be in. Well, I say less bad as if there's anything wrong with a rainforest. I just don't like humidity personally, but until they start getting more comfortable, I think would be a better word there. So, let's see. So, the Lemnos Rainforest. Okay, so a lush tropical region. Oh, you know, I should add up here as we go. Just got a bunch of small islands that are water shallow enough to walk between. Okay, so lush tropical region consistently I don't want to say ravaged, but consistently what's a good word for it? Not ravaged, because it's not like super harsh weather. Oh, brain, come on, give me a good word here. Plagued would be okay. From a year-round storm. So this is pretty simple. It's just a big rainforest area. It's hot, it's humid, it rains 24/7 essentially, unless you're in the eye of the storm for that like 1 month of the year. We'll add that into our little thing here. Experiences 11 months of wet season. And 1 month of dry season. When the... Is it typhoon? Is that the right word? Let me look up what a typhoon is, because I don't quite remember. Mostly because I don't live near water. That would be good. The constant typhoon. Now hold up. When the eye of the constant typhoon passes over. I feel like this is the wrong way to put this, because we should be talking about the town. So we're gonna cut this actually, because it's not like the whole forest is 11 months wet, 1 month dry. It's more like this thing is really slow. It's a slow-moving eye of the storm, and it has a dry season for that area. So the town experiences a dry season for about a month out of the year. But otherwise... Yeah, let's change it to typhoon, because it would be more accurate and does sound better. Okay, so the paper bark forest Deciduous. I spelled it right my first time. I'm literally a genius. Y'all need to hop on this train before it really takes off, dude. My mind built unlike any others before it. Forest full of trees similar to... Oh, okay, thank you for the correction. I think. To birch trees with bark that is ideal for the production of paper. Now, I will admit that this biome was more inspired by creatures that live in it rather than the other way around, which is why it exists. But I like it. It's just like a strip of forest that's, you know, it's got trees that are good for paper making, because you can't actually make paper from tree bark. I don't know if that's something people like commonly know, but yeah, paper's made from trees, dude. Shit's crazy. The fungal estuary. Okay, so now here's a fun one. This is one of the more strange ones. Okay, so near the coasts of Lucinia, large patches of bioluminescent mushrooms, outstanding size, grow in the grow near the banks of clashing fresh and salt water. So this estuary area, it's pretty much these types of forests of these particular trees pop up, or these mushrooms, I should say, these fungus, pop up wherever rivers come and meet the seas. You get these large strips of these huge glowing pink mushrooms all along here, and they kind of fill in the niche for trees kind of deal. And I do have some particularly unique creatures for these areas. I pretty much have creatures for everywhere, but that's kind of the idea there. Like, these are simple outlines. I so deeply wish I could draw. I mean, maybe one day I'll actually sit myself down and like find my drive and learn, but until now, you'll have to use my lovely words to imagine it in your head. Ooh. Okay, and then the sinking woodlands. Okay. Let's see, the last major forest before the Mobius strip. This woodland exists as a barrier between the damp jungles and harsh plateau. Okay, the trees. So here's the thing about this particular area. It's a large strip, and it's damp. It's not as wet as the actual jungles, but it has a consistent layer of quicksand. These trees are constantly sinking into this bog, but they grow so fast that they kind of mitigate the amount they sink. So the trees are basically constantly moving downwards and upwards at the same time. And that's kind of the idea here. There are people living here, and they have to adapt to that. They're like nomadic, except instead of moving from place to place, they're constantly moving upwards with the trees, kind of idea. Region. Grow faster than any other known species as an adaptation to the constant devouring of the bog they grow from. Okay. So this is a solid little chunk of world here. Y'all can get an idea for what this continent is like. I think I am going to cut it here. I don't want this video to be quite as long as the last one, but next time we're going to go, I want to say we're going to go through at least these 3 parts for sure. I want to get these 3 parts done, and then we'll see what we get done after that, and then the video after. But that's where I want to stop for right now, so y'all can have a solid idea of what exactly Lucinia is like. It is mostly like different kinds of forests and woodlands, but I like to think that each one is unique in its own way. The paper bark forest is kind of a weak one, unfortunately. I might think of something to make it a little more, give it a bit more of a twist, but I mean, it was built around the creatures instead of the creatures being built around it, which is why it's kind of a weak link compared to this other stuff. But that's just how it is, you know. Sometimes you get stuff like that, but I think it's still good. I like it. I like birch forest. I think birch trees are pretty, and I wanted to have my own little version of one. So that's where we're going to stop off for today, and next time we'll be covering our deserts, plateaus, and country of giants. So if y'all have enjoyed this video, I would love to see some of that sweet, sweet algorithm attention. A few likes, comments, subscribers, even just one goes a long way. And until next time, my friends, my name has been Type 1. I hope you have a wonderful evening, afternoon, and night. Bye-bye.